Hi everyone, Azmat here. I'm very pleased to say I'm at CMAC's head office today, and I'm here with CMAC CEO Peter Slater. The reason I'm here is because there was massive news in the industry that CMAC has sold to ComfortDelGro, and I thought I'd get the news directly from the man himself and ask him a few questions. So Pete, thanks so much for having me today, mate.
No problem.
Perfect. So first of all, why did ComfortDelGro buy CMAC?
So hopefully we've been looking for an investment partner for quite some time. We've had a pretty the growth that we've gone through over the last few years has been pretty incredible, really, and we've done that all self-funded, and we are really proud of how we've managed to do that. We started to potentially become a bit of a victim of our own success, because as you grow as a company, we always pay suppliers generally before we get paid from our clients, and therefore the bigger you get, the stretch between paying suppliers and getting the money in yourself. There was no problems, we were still in a great position, but we knew that if we continued to grow for the next 12, 18 months or even 2 years at the same rate we would start to run into we'd have to have some sort of funding. And we did flirt with the obvious options of private equity or venture capital, but we just didn't want someone who just came with money. We wanted someone who could add things to what we were already doing, particularly in areas where we're not particularly strong currently. And I don't just mean product wise, I mean territory wise or locations wise, because we are, particularly our airline clients, we're looking after them more on a network wide basis now, so they're looking for us to support them in some far-flung places that we just don't have coverage, and we need to do that. So we looked at what was available to us, and we were looking for a partner that was strong in areas already that we wanted to develop into, but someone who's from the industry and understands the difference between just being an operator, which we're not, and we're never going to be, because we're not very good at that. We did try that once upon a time, and we certainly won't be doing that again. That understands that CMAC is a pretty unique business and needs to be left alone to carry on what we're already doing, and distribute that work in the ways that we always have done.
What do you think were ComfortDelGro's motivations to purchase you, though?
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, I'm quite happy to put a meeting together where we can get that answer directly from them, because it's. But from my point of view,
yeah, I mean, in your opinion,
for us, it is that they are traditionally an asset-based business, and they are looking. You can't always have vehicles everywhere to cover every occasion, and also for us, we believe that they're looking for a platform to be able to continue to grow and get the benefit of being an asset-based business and a platform that can distribute work and rely on a network of suppliers, just like we do, but sort of accelerate that into much more places across Europe and internationally.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen what ComfortDelGro are doing. They've made a big move in Australia, taking on cab charge. A very innovative company, so there's no denying that. They do some great things. However, I've got to say that there's been some concern in the industry that CMAC, a business that a lot of people rely on for a lot of work, is now going to be owned by, in certain areas, potentially a competitor. So with ComfortDelGro owning taxi fleets in certain areas, what do you say to your customers who are in those areas today? Yeah,
I understand the concern totally, but we wouldn't do a deal. We wouldn't have done a deal on the basis that we have to change anything that we currently do. One of the challenges we always have is we will never have enough suppliers. And the reason for that is we have such a mix of work. If we only did pre-planned crew rail work, for example, then possibly, yes, we could run with a much smaller pool of operators, and there could be exclusive deals and there could be risks of all sorts of things from that perspective. But because one minute we're doing a breakdown recovery service for the AA or the RAC or something like that, or the Motability services, or the airline industry, everything that we do, pretty much 60% of the work that we do is reactive, it's immediate. And we can't expect any of our suppliers to always have availability at all times. It was just an impossibility. So we've always had a philosophy as we will always need as many suppliers as we can. And that's been made very clear to ComfortDelGro. So the fact that they may own fleets, or that will not change our supplier selection criteria whatsoever in any way. We know how important our independence to who we choose to distribute the work to is based on a standard set of criteria that we agree with the client directly, and that is not going to change, and that is something that has been part of the fabric of the deal. I know some of our suppliers are not going to buy into that, but I think we can only prove that by time showing that isn't going to, nothing's going to change. I can categorically confirm that I am under no pressure from anybody to change how we distribute the work that we have.
You're not under pressure now, but ComfortDelGro have purchased 100% of the business.
Yes.
And ultimately, I think the concerns are going to be is that they're going to make the decisions. So what is to say that tomorrow that isn't going to change, or they aren't going to turn around to you and say, in a certain area where they're operating the fleet, send the work to the fleet and not to the competitor, that sort of stuff. That's the main fear factor at the minute, what I can see.
I understand that, and again, that's pretty, that is a fact. They could do that, but we've sort of joined them on a journey now for at least, the next 5 or 6 years or so, and I've told them how I think we're going to hit the sort of future aspirations that we've said, and to do that, we're going to need as many suppliers on board supporting us as possible. So if things like that started to happen, they might get a very short-term gain out of it, but I think long-term that would be pretty devastating to the business, and therefore I don't believe that they would do that. As I've said, part of the, we had many people interested in CMAC. Fortunately, we're very, very fortunate to have lots of interest, but we chose ComfortDelGro because we believe that they have a track record of leaving businesses alone.
Yeah.
So they do buy them. So if you look at a lot of, particularly the UK businesses that I'm aware of, they tend to leave the management team in, they leave the brand alone, and they let it run as it has done for many years. So that's why we chose them as this partner. And again, I can't, time will have to prove that that's the case as well.
So when you did the deal with ComfortDelGro, was that something that you'd stated to them, that we want to be left alone, run the business ourselves, and all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely.
Was that was in there?
Absolutely, we've agreed that from day one. That was one of the criteria why we had probably 4 or 5 people that were interested in, and we narrowed it down. We already identified ComfortDelGro as a company that we would be interested in working with prior to us knowing that they were interested in CMAC. So we did our homework, and I believe we've chosen the right partner to make sure we can carry on as we always have done.
So from coming from yourself, there are no immediate changes coming?
No. The only sort of change of note really is that Steve Turner, who was the chairman and former CEO of CMAC, has chosen to, as part of the deal, move on and do other things. But he's still my best mate. We've known each other since we were 11 years old, so I don't think I'm going to get him out of my life, unfortunately. But he's stepping down. But other than that, everyone else, director-wise, and everything else is exactly the same and will continue.
I'm going to have to ask you straight off, do CMAC have a working relationship with Uber?
Yes, we do. However, it's mainly on specific use cases. So going back to my previous question, because of the wide amounts of different types of work we get involved in, we use Uber for the particular times where we've exhausted all other options, or they just happen to be in a place where we need somebody immediately collecting and moving on. And that's not always, but it's the vast majority of the breakdown recovery contracts that we do for AA, RSC, Green Flag, those types of companies, where somebody's broken down at the side of the road, sometimes in the middle of nowhere, and need a vehicle to pick them up within a very short time frame to move them back home or to a place of respite. So our system just allows us to be able to sort of find the nearest vehicle to that particular requirement, and because it's an immediate requirement and it's simply point to point, Uber are in the mix of suppliers that would be that could be distributed to that work could be distributed to.
So just so I've got that right, so let's say for example it's a job in Manchester.
Yeah.
You've got streetcars
Yeah.
To cover that work, and then you've also got Uber to cover that work. Yeah. Who does it go to first, or it doesn't, or how does that work?
So there's a whole supplier selection criteria, but in that case, if it was in the middle of Manchester, there'd be a number of suppliers well before Uber. But again, it would try all of those until we have no option, but that passenger still needs to be collected and they would be moved from point to point.
So it's a last resort.
It's more or less last resort. I mean, I think that's a bit harsh on Uber sometimes, right. But as in, but if it's a breakdown recovery and it's someone and they've got the nearest vehicle and the next nearest vehicle is either an hour away or a long time, they would jump the queue.
Yeah.
So it depends on, but highly populated areas where we've got plenty of current supply, they wouldn't get that job.
Okay.
But I'm more than happy to go into that a bit more if we want to do a deeper dive on how our supplier selection criteria works. It's pretty difficult to do because it is sometimes customer specific, so it moves around. A lot of our clients have a say in where how our system decides to distribute work, and then ultimately the 24-hour ops team here also have autonomy sometimes to go off that selection criteria and pick the supplier that they think they really need to do that job.
I think there's a lot of people in the industry who are quite, call it anti-Uber, myself included, famously. But
really?
But I think the problem here is that people are going to look at this and who weren't aware of it because they've been finding out over the last couple of days, and they feel a CMAC is their partner, and they're the ones who've supported CMAC. CMAC supported them, and it's been rather than business relationship, it's been a strong partnership as well, both increasing each other's growth. And a business that they all see as a threat, which is Uber, damages their companies. To find this out, I don't think they're going to be particularly happy about.
No, I understand that, but this has been happening for quite a long time, so it's nothing new from our perspective.
Okay.
So hopefully, if people haven't noticed that we do use Uber on occasion for a specific set of circumstances, I would hope that the supply chain understand that they're the most important thing to us as a company. Without a supply chain, we as a company do not exist. We are pointless. We are only here to hopefully provide, in some cases, some technology to clients that they particularly want. But generally, it's us connecting the right supplier with our clients to give the best service possible. And we haven't changed that for the last 10 years, and we've no intention of changing that. It's just sometimes we need a solution. We have to be able to provide a solution even when we're running out of everything. It might not be the ideal solution. We sometimes have to move, hopefully some of our suppliers know, sometimes we'll ask you to do a job, drive 50 miles to pick someone up and take them 3 miles. I mean, because we have to supply. That is our USP. So we will always need as many suppliers as we can get. And for us, sometimes the mix of suppliers we need is controversial, but that we can't really apologise for that because we have to provide that solution.
Yeah, I also saw in one of the groups last night a graphic being sent around about ComfortDelGro having a relationship with Uber, which, by the way, I was completely unaware of. Right. So and again, the questions being asked are, what does this mean? Are you going to end up working with them more? What are your thoughts on that?
Similar to previous, like I said, we are under no pressure whatsoever to change how we distribute the work that we currently have available, and we've got absolutely no intention of changing it. The only things we change are if we think a supplier's not performing as well as they could do, or the client wants us to change something, or we lose a client, or we gain a client in a new area. Those are the reasons we might move work around, but that's it. Whether ComfortDelGro have I don't, as far as I know, that's maybe not a UK thing, I don't know, but like I said, we've had no conversations whatsoever about how we distribute work from ComfortDelGro or anybody else for that matter.
Brilliant. And so finally, any message to your customers, anything that you want to say to them?
No, obviously, time will have to prove some of the things that we're saying here, and I am a little bit frustrated that some of our suppliers have thought that this is a good move for them. I get the concerns, I totally understand it, but hopefully we've got enough of a relationship over a long period of time that people would trust that we would choose the right partner to allow us to carry on doing what we're doing, and we hopefully can just carry on distributing even more work to the same set of suppliers we already have done for many, many years. That's what this thing's supposed to be for us. It's just to allow us to grow and carry on as we have done. It's business as usual and nothing more.
Perfect. Well, I'd like to say that CMAC's obviously built up a great reputation, and I really hope that with time it continues and you continue to support the industry as you guys have always done. And on behalf of myself, I'd like to say a massive congratulations to you and your directors, mate. Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.